Coming up this week, I'll be taking you for a ride on Europe's newest high-speed train, the Spanish S106 Talgo Avril, designed for Spanish operator Renfe's low-cost Avlo and high-end premium AVE brands. This is Talgo's most advanced high-speed train yet, able to reach 300 km per hour on both standard and Iberian gauge tracks, thanks to its gauge-changing technology. Despite this, the train is not that great, which I'll be showing you on a ride from the Spanish capital Madrid to Gijon in the north. Now join me as the journey continues. It's a very early start at around 6 in the morning from Madrid's Chamartín station. Not the busiest or most appealing station serving the Spanish capital, but still a principal one nonetheless. Not to mention there are ongoing works to completely redevelop it. Chamartín, principally responsible for handling traffic north of Madrid, has seen its role vastly change since its opening in 1967, most recently in 2022 with the addition of high-speed services to Valencia and Alicante in the south, and now boasts a healthy 42 million passengers a year across 4 different high-speed rail operators. Our operator today is Spain's national rail operator Renfe, who spared no expense at highlighting their ticket office and many ticket machines throughout the station. High-speed open access operator Elige also has a presence here in the form of their booking office Casa Elige. As for the rest of the concourse, you won't find much else shop-wise. Which reminds me, before boarding on Spanish high-speed rail, you need to pass through mandatory airport-style security, introduced when Spanish high-speed rail opened in the 90s owing to threats made by Basque separatist organisation ETA, and over 30 years later is still in place. The check isn't a massive time penalty, especially if there are no queues like there aren't right now. Just grab a tray, put your belongings in there, and you're good to go. Platform side, you'll find a lot more on offer, including Renfe's Sala Executive Club Lounge. However, I'm not allowed access despite the fact I'm travelling in first class, which I'll come to in a moment. There are also plenty of shops and eateries here, though not that many open at this time of day sadly. Anyway, that's not our focus today. We're more concerned with the 6:58 departure, which will be our Talgo Avril train north to Gijon this morning. And when I say concerned, I mean literally. The AVE service after this, bound for Alicante, is ready for boarding, and this is meant to leave after ours, so that did leave me slightly worried. Even most of the passengers here are waiting for the service to Gijon, which covers several other key cities in northern Spain too, but more on that later. And around 5 minutes before departure, we're now called to board. Safe to say we won't be leaving on time this morning. All platforms are accessible by escalators and lifts, the latter being for heavy luggage and those with reduced mobility. Our train, which is on the platform to the right, has just arrived from the depot. This is the S106, manufactured by Spanish manufacturer Talgo and is marketed by them as Avril. These sets were heavily delayed owing to numerous issues during the commissioning and testing phases, and entered service with Renfe in May 2024, a few weeks before this video was recorded, running for both their premium AVE brand as well as their low-cost Avlo brand, with a total of 30 to be built and split equally between the two brands. French startup open access operator Elige has also ordered 10 units, which will be delivered to them for use by 2026. The Avril sets are said to be an evolution of the Talgo 350, also used by Renfe, with the Avril shape being less aerodynamic to meet French requirements, and will be replacing some Alvia services operated by the S130s, which like the Avril are capable of running on both standard and Iberian gauges, albeit at a lower speed of 250 km per hour. Each Avril train set consists of 2 power cars and 12 passenger coaches, the latter featuring a rather strange wheelset design with only 2 wheels per set, one on each side, which whilst bizarre is a typical design of Talgo's products. Whilst French licensing is ongoing, the trains are currently licensed in Spain only at a top speed of 330 km per hour on both standard and Iberian gauges. Of the 12 carriages on the Talgo Avril, 9 of these are standard class, with 2 being first class where we'll be travelling today, the final car being a cafe car, which of course we'll take a look at later. Renfe proudly boasts its zero CO2 usage for its AVE fleet and improved energy efficiency of the Avril. Definitely one huge advantage over flying. Well, already before boarding I can see one fault with the train. The electronic external displays appear to be stuck. That does make me wonder what the onboard systems will be like, but I guess we'll find out shortly, as it's time to board. All carriages are low floor, meaning accessibility is hardly an issue. My ticket today is an Elige Comfort ticket, which allows me to sit in a first class seat, albeit without the onboard meal service, although this is nothing to write home about, so I'm not really missing out. Disappointingly, first class is in a 2x2 layout and the interior looks awfully similar to that of an aircraft. Whilst this makes good use of the Avril's wider body design for extra capacity, this is a first for Europe and personally I prefer 2x1. Our route will see us travel north, running on the standard gauge high speed lines as far as Leon, where before arrival we change to the larger Iberian gauge. Following this, it's one last call at Oviedo before arriving into Gijon, with an expected arrival of around 20 past 10 Central European time, taking over 3.5 hours to cover the 530km distance. Not bad! Owing to the late arrival of our train from the depot, we depart Madrid 10 minutes late at 0708 Central European time. Already after leaving Madrid, I can tell the ride quality of this train is simply awful. Going over lots of points makes this even more apparent. If this is what it's like at slow speeds, I dread to think what it will be like at high speed. To the left are the Renfe depots for both standard gauge high speed and Iberian gauge trains. The Alvia S130 and S730 units I mentioned earlier can also be seen, both on standby for services out of Madrid. Clearing the Madrid suburbs, we now begin to enter the high speed line towards Leon, otherwise known as the Madrid to Asturias high speed line. The first section we're on now between Madrid and Valladolid opened in 2007 as part of efforts made to reduce journey times between Madrid and northern Spain. Currently, we're at speeds of around 200km per hour, and whilst the ride quality is improving, it's still not great, as shown by my water bottle just here. Okay, now on to the train's features, and I'm sorry to say this seat is not comfortable whatsoever. Despite its looks, the padding is incredibly thin and has rather poor ergonomics. One thing I do like though is the headrest can be adjusted as appropriate, by being moved up or down or by folding the ends to make it more suitable for resting. Each seat has foldable armrests on both sides, with the right side of mine having a small area to place devices such as your mobile, with standard 220V power sockets just below this, which are conveniently located. I have to say I was rather disappointed with the recline, which wasn't as generous as expected, especially for a first class product. Here as well you can see the seat frame inside, which reaffirms my comments on the seat padding earlier. Not great. Legroom on the other hand was incredibly generous regardless, and I barely had to bend my knees to use the footrest, which is great. A fold down tray table is also present, which can be extended to hold a laptop or a meal, and even has a groove for a cup holder. A large seat back pocket is present, with a smaller one just above, which does look pretty handy. What isn't though is the electronic screens at the back of each seat, which to be honest seem like a pointless gimmick more than anything else. Available in 7 different languages, these allow access to onboard entertainment such as games and music, though annoyingly you need wired headphones to actually use them properly. Surely Renfe know most people have wireless ones these days, right? There is also useful information displayed such as a train interior plan, which wasn't working on the set I was travelling on, though at least the menu was for those on a premium ticket, which I won't be having. Oh, and don't get me started on the live journey information, which not only showed no map and virtually no distance travelled, but also that 0km per hour is the new 300km per hour. You will find a USB Type A socket on the screen though, and just to the right of it is a conveniently located coat hook, though this did take more effort than desired to get open. As for personal bins, you'll find a larger one for both passengers in between the seats in front, with reading lights just above the seats which can be adjusted. The seat number indicators just above this are again not working, but not to worry. At least the sticker numbers don't have this problem. Now, one thing I can't really fault this train on is its luggage space, which throughout the train is very generous both on the overheads and the larger spaces found throughout. Finally, there's a draw-down blind which can be used to reduce what would normally be harsh sunlight you get in Spain, though we won't be having that problem this morning it seems. Overall, as much as I liked some of the features, there are some rather curious design choices which are either poorly executed or just bad in general. Can't say I'm really impressed, especially given Talgo has been developing this train for years. One thing you might notice from this shot as well is that almost every seat is facing forwards. Well, that's because the airline seats rotate to always face the direction of travel, with the only exception being the table seats as seen here. Foldable sections are also present, allowing easy movement in and out. Nice to end this on a positive note at least. Currently, we're inside the Guadarrama tunnel, an integral part of the high-speed line, which at 28.41 kilometers long is the longest tunnel in Spain and the 6th longest in Europe as a whole. Construction of the tunnel took 4,000 people working simultaneously from 2002 until its opening in 2007, making it the largest civil engineering work carried out in Spain to date. Exiting the tunnel, we speed past Segovia's high-speed station just below, which is served by AVE and Avlo trains, but mainly Avant services which cover shorter distances than the former two Renfe brands. It's around this point that Avril finally reaches its highest speed on today's trip of 300 km per hour. Thankfully we're not going any faster as the train is shaky and bumpy enough as it is. Around an hour later, we pull into our first stop, Valladolid. Campo Grande is a major junction station on routes in northern Spain, as well as the route to Onday at the Spanish-French border. As we slow down and come to a stop, the braking is incredibly sudden, which was apparent at every station that S106 called at. I'm actually surprised no passengers got whiplash. There is also free Wi-Fi on board if you need it, but this appeared to not be working either, despite the fact I had 5G for almost the entire trip, so hopefully this was just a one-off, but given most other things don't seem to work on this train, I'm very doubtful. The next stretch of high-speed line ends at Palencia, around 48 kilometers from Madrid. For some reason, we were stopped not long after leaving here, so not sure whether there was a fault with the train or another train was blocking the line ahead. The final portion of standard gauge high speed line is to Leon, and crossing the point just now once again made things rather bumpy on board. But regardless, I'll brave the shakiness and show you more inside the Talgo Avril. A small kitchenette area is present at the rear of coach 2. This is where the attendants prepare the onboard meal service for those on a premium ticket, including the serving of coffees and other cold drinks. Just after this, we can find standard class. Standard class on the Talgo Avril is in a 2x3 configuration, which is again a first for high-speed rail in Europe, and reminiscent of what can be seen on the Japanese Shinkansen for example. Though personally, I'm still not a fan of this, despite it being an increase in overall capacity and a good use of the Avril's wider body. And of course, I had a brief sit to see what it was like, and thankfully it was brief. The legroom is a bit more cramped than first, as you'd expect, with a smaller tray table, but otherwise this is more or less the same as first class, and sadly that also included the poor seat comfort, which was even worse here. Very disappointing. I do have to give praise to the wheelchair spaces on board though. Talgo have thought about accessibility well on this train, and it definitely seems a lot better for those with reduced mobility. An accessible toilet is also present just outside the space, and there are even foldable seats included at both ends of the carriage. There didn't appear to be dedicated bike storage on the Avril, but the luggage racks appeared large enough to store them, as seen here, though there was no indication of this by the signage. Another point to mention is about the floor. It's not actually wooden. It's carpet. Yes, even in first class. I don't understand why a wooden floor pattern was included, especially given how dirt is highlighted so much easier now, which isn't a good look for Renfe's premium brand. Now the cafe car on board was the most popular area of the train, presumably as a way for passengers to avoid the seatback pain. I then left and saw vending machines just outside, including a small area to stand and eat, which I thought was a great way to help deal with the bar congestion, with a decent selection and fair prices if you want something light. Well, for a train at least. Sadly though, when ordering, there seemed to be an error with the vending machine. Not sure whether this was again due to a signal problem or another technical fault, but I eventually decided to return to the cafe bar and just order from there, as the queue was moving relatively fast. The offerings here are more extensive than the vending machines, which was great to see, but as always, I've linked the menu with prices in the description below. There are also several play areas towards the front of the coach, however, these were used more as standing areas by passengers instead. And here's my selection from the cafe, which was absolutely delicious. The water and orange juice were especially refreshing on a warm day like today. We're now coming to the end of the high-speed line and are on the approach to León, but before we stop there, the Avril enters one of many gauge-changing facilities located across the AVE network and changes its gauge from 1435mm standard gauge to the larger 1668mm Iberian gauge, which frequents the classic Spanish rail network. Before entering the gauge changer, the speed is significantly reduced and the voltage is changed. As the train is run through the gauge changer, each wheel set adjusts to the larger Iberian gauge track and vice versa when converting back to standard gauge. Each carriage takes a few seconds to be done, with the entire train taking mere minutes to be complete, all made possible thanks to the innovative Talgo technology. With the gauge change now done, we head underground into the through platforms of León station, which were designed for services running north of the city into Asturias. For an underground station, I really liked the wall designs and mood lighting. Just a shame I couldn't see the main station on this occasion, which is meant to be amazing. We're actually only on the classic network briefly after León. We'll be entering the remaining high-speed line to Asturias shortly, but first let me show you the Sala Executive Club area, which is essentially a meeting room, though this appeared to be empty, and from past trips with Renfe last year, I'm not even sure if it's still in use, so if you know, please comment below.
In case of evacuation in tunnels, pay attention to the space between train and platform. To facilitate this process, the train is equipped with emergency walkway.
A key part of the León to Asturias high-speed line is the Pajares base tunnel, a new piece of infrastructure which opened in November 2023. This 24.6km tunnel is the longest of several we take on the high-speed line to Oviedo, and the second longest in Spain after the Guadarrama tunnel we traversed earlier. The tunnel's top speed is 250km/h, in conjunction with the rest of the high-speed line, and includes dual gauges for both standard and Iberian gauge traffic. This tunnel replaces the original Pajares Pass route over the Cantabrian mountain range, which sacrifices scenery for shorter distance and journey times. Clearing the tunnels reveals a rather gloomy northern Spain as we return to the Spanish conventional lines, though it's here I noticed that Avril was taking corners a lot faster than expected. It was definitely swinging around more than before. Standard toilets can be found in the vestibules of most carriages, the main exception being the accessible toilet in the carriage containing the PRM area. I definitely think this is a lot better than what you would find on an aircraft, but smaller compared to other units such as the Frecciarossa 1000. Regardless, everything was clean and functional, so I have no complaints. There's also space for a baby changing ramp, a shaver socket and coat hooks. Our last stop on this trip is Oviedo, where most passengers get off. Either they're genuinely getting off here, or they can't bear to continue riding the Avril for another 10 minutes. Jokes aside, it's time to conclude on the trip. Whilst there were things I liked about the Talgo Avril such as the cafe car and legroom, this is honestly not a good product. Many things fail to work due to technical issues, and the questionable and terrible design choices overall make it a very poor alternative to flying, which Renfe's AVE competes with. Not to mention that terrible ride quality. Would I be complaining as much if this was an Avlo train? Probably not. However, for Renfe's premium offer and compared to their other Talgo sets, this was quite the letdown. I know new trains have their issues and I really am trying to be fair here, but considering this train has been in development since 2016, the end result really is disappointing. As for the cost of this journey, I was travelling on my first class Interrail, which only includes the Elige Comfort fare, and not the premium one including the meal service. And as reservations are compulsory in Spain, I paid €15 for my reserved seat. At the time of filming, this journey would have cost €36 as part of a promo offer from Renfe for the AVE launch in Galicia and Asturias, which for the distance is decent value for money, not so much for the train. We fortunately managed to pick up most of the delay, with the arrival into Gijon being just a mere 5 minutes late. Now it's over to you. What did you think of the Talgo Avril? Have you had a chance to try it yet? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to like and share it to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Okay, time for a brief look around Gijon before making my way back to Madrid. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.